Hey YouTube, this is Mark and I am handy by necessity. Today I'm going to be showing you how I built this planter. So stay with me and we will make it happen. I'm using pressure treated 2x10s, which can be very heavy, so it might be good to have help if you do the same thing, or you can use 2x4s if you want to. You can cut these boards with a handsaw, but I am basically lazy. I mean fundamentally industrious. So as a result, I'm going to be using a circular saw. You'll notice that I have this board on top of another. I've got it separated with a piece of 3/4 inch scrap wood. I don't have a helper, so that's the method I'm going to be using to keep everything from pinching or breaking. I'll show you a side view of that. This is how I have the lumber set up to cut. The scrap wood that's under it will allow me to cut between those two boards, and everything will stay in place without pinching. First, let me show you the cuts that will need to be made. I have 4 2x10s that need to be cut the same way. The ends will need to be squared off because the factory cuts are never quite square. And then we'll need to cut a 33-inch piece to make these beds. I want to be 3 foot wide, so 33 inches on the end pieces plus the thickness of 2 of the long sides. You'll see how that works out, makes it 3 feet wide. So 33 inches, that leaves just a little over 87 inches. So when I cut 87 inches, that'll square up the other end, and that'll use up the entire 10-foot board. Now we'll measure 33 inches to cut the next board that will be used on the end of the bed. Okay, so that's all there is to cutting the board. One more cut on the other end to make this long board 87 inches, and we will have used the entire 10-foot section of the board and squared everything off so that it will all fit together nicely. Now that all the 2x10s for the raised bed are cut, I need to cut some 2x2s to reinforce the corners. That's how we'll connect the corners. Since I don't have a helper, again, I have to come up with a fundamentally industrious, or some say basically lazy, way to do that. What I'm going to do is screw this 2x4 to the back of one of our planter boards. I've already measured the middle of the board and put a mark using my level as a straight edge. So all I have to do is screw it to the board and use my circular saw to rip it in half. That will be enough for 2 of the 2x2s. I'll do that one more time. Cut those each in half, roughly, and we'll have our 2x2s. Now that all the boards are cut, I'm going to assemble the back first. What I'm doing on the end is the 2x2 that we're screwing into, I've clamped beside another 2x2 to give us the offset or the spacing, so that when we remove the extra 2x2, we will have the right spacing. But with this set up the way it is, I will have to drive the screws from under the board, which is going to be a little bit awkward and difficult to film. So you'll have to use your imagination. The first side, which is going to be the back side of this box, is now assembled. Both of the 2x2s have been screwed to it. I have one piece for the side just sitting in place. We will still need to take 3 screws and screw through that side piece into the 2x2. There'll be 2 of those on the side, of course. I have my square there so I can make sure everything stays square as we go. Now that the 2 short ends are attached, I'm going to show you an alternative method for attaching the 2x2. Probably actually an easier method if you would have done this instead of what I did, but this way it will give you 2 ways to do it. I think this method for attaching the 2x2 cleat is a lot simpler than the other one I showed you, but I wanted to give you some variety. So in this method, we're simply using the ends of the short boards and lining it up directly with that, because as you can see, it's sitting right in the corner, and that end of that board is going to butt up to the long board that's going on the front and the back. So we can just use the ends of the board as a guide, clamp to it, and then screw it to it, and it's done. So we could have put both of those cleats on those short boards, had a lot less weight to deal with, and then laid them down on the long boards to attach them. I'm almost finished assembling this planter. A couple of things I want to point out to you. One is that as I line all of these joints up, I'm making sure the top joints are the ones that are lined up. These boards are not always the same width. Sometimes there's imperfections, and the bottoms may not match up exactly, but that's okay. They'll be sitting on soil. It's the top that you'll see. Also, sometimes there's warping. So what I did is laid this board on at an angle so that it's straight at the other end, and we're going to use the advantage of this lever. We screwed the other end down, and as we pull the board back, it will pull that bowed wood straight at the other end. To start this planter off, we've lined the bottom with cardboard. This will be a barrier for growth from existing vegetation and let us start fresh. We'll put our horticulture on top of that, and then our topsoil and compost mixture to fill it up.